you're joining us for our first of our spotlight interviews for movers and shakers in Bangkok, and today we are at the Charm Thai restaurant at the Holiday Inn in Plonchit. Joining me is the Managing Director of RSM Thailand, Gareth Hughes. Gareth, nice to see you.
You too.
So Gareth, how are you?
Wonderful, thank you.
Yes, well?
It's been a much better start to the year than it has been for the last 3 years, so
okay.
I'm feeling quietly confident that things are going to continue.
In terms of business, of course.
Business.
Okay. Perhaps, for those who don't know, you could perhaps tell them a little bit about RSM Thailand and indeed yourself.
Well, I'm both British and Australian. I've lived in Bangkok for 12 years. I'm actually a chartered accountant by trade, which can sound very, very boring. Mm-hmm. But effectively my firm, RSM Thailand, it's what we call a one-stop shop. We provide consulting services to investors wishing to commence business in Thailand.
Okay. Now this, obviously with movers and shakers, people come here for the networking and not just to do business, but perhaps to find out how to do business. How long have you been in Thailand, Gareth?
Been 12 years. I arrived here in February 2000. Okay.
So if someone was to ask you what advice would you give to a fledgling entrepreneur who's got this wonderful idea and it's going to work, it just needs the light to go from amber to green, what advice would you give them of doing business specifically in Thailand?
I think initially it's very important that anybody arriving here to do business should seek out an accounting or legal firm, and also expats that have been here for quite a while, and just get them to provide the rundown of how Bangkok and Thailand really works. Mm-hmm. Because you can arrive here, make a bit of a fool of yourself. The culture is very different. Mm-hmm. The ways of doing business can often be very different. Mm-hmm. So it's important to find an old head just to steer you in the correct direction.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you mean in terms of visas and work permits and all the red tape that enables you to not just do business but do it legally and by the book-ish.
Correct. It's not just important to find a stalwart, somebody who's been here a while, but I would also go a step further and say you really need to seek out somebody working for a respectable company. There's a lot of companies that are not so respectable, and often the advice can be conflicting, and you can sometimes get into trouble. Okay. I would say if you don't want to pay a lot, the chances are the advice that you get is going to be very cheap. There's the old saying, if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys.
Indeed. Okay. Well, I think that's it's good advice actually, and sometimes you hear of people saying, well, I've got this deal for doing my business set up, and you think, oh, it's crazy, and it's perhaps not worth the paper that it's written on. Okay, well, an interesting answer. You said that this has been a good start to the year. However, we're on the cusp of something that could be something of a hot potato with the minimum wage. How does that affect businesses like yourself?
It certainly would affect most businesses. From our perspective, we consult, so we provide auditing, taxation, legal services and accounting services. But of course a lot of our clients are ones who run big manufacturing companies all over Thailand, and they're the ones that have a lot of staff who are predominantly not paid a significant amount of money. Mm-hmm. And one of the factors that makes Thailand very attractive is that the wages here are not as excessive as somewhere like Australia, the UK, or even America. Mm-hmm. So by pushing the wage rates up, the margins, the profit margins are going to go down, and you'll suddenly see organisations that exist here deciding this isn't going to work for us, we're going to pull out and maybe move our businesses to other countries, maybe neighbours such as Cambodia, Vietnam or Burma, or even China. On the other hand, you may force a lot of would-be investors who believe that Thailand is an attractive place to do business to also look at alternatives as opposed to setting up here. So I think it's very important that the government are extremely careful with what they ultimately decide.
Okay, because it's one of those things that sounds like a good idea, and you think it's all for the best for the people, but the reality is that if business can't be achieved within those parameters, it might not be the best thing.
That's right. I mean, every business should and it has to make a profit. You can't run a business as a loss. I mean, you look at countries. I mean, even countries can't run at a loss, because the results are just extremely detrimental.
Okay, Gareth, how important is charity to a company like yourself, or perhaps the buzzwords now, of course, are corporate social responsibility? Is this something within your company that has become more and more apparent?
Absolutely. I mean, everybody goes into business looking to make a dollar, but at the same time, you've got to give something back. And RSM and a lot of other organisations, including clients of ours that we're involved with, after a while take a view, well, hang on a second, somewhere like Bangkok and Thailand in particular have been fairly good to us. We've got to give something back. And the way we've done it at RSM, we look at certain organisations like Movers and Shakers is one, the Lighthouse Club is another one, it's a construction group, and there are charities that they're often involved with, which you don't have to get involved yourselves and get into nuts and bolts, but somebody else is doing that. But at least you can give something back, whether it's by direct cash contributions, or alternatively by giving up your time to raise some money for those organisations. Okay.
Right, Gareth, final question. So are you a mover or are you a shaker?
I've just hit 50, so I think I will call myself neither a mover or a shaker.
Okay.
But a contented person at the moment, and Bangkok has been a lot of fun. I mean, I came here originally for 2 years. That was 12 years ago, and my family are here. They're all very happy as well. And a friend of mine said to me once, how would you describe Bangkok? And I said, I don't know. And this friend said, well, I would say it's Disney World for adults. So on that note, I think I'll leave it.
Okay. Well, I think that's a nice way to end it. Gareth, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tim.
Thank you.